So this is a pretty neat opportunity. I showed off this MSG prototype pretty recently with the automatic lockout function that it has here, where you rotate the button and basically lock it out so that the auto function can't fire, and mentioned that this mechanism would go on later to be used on the Microtech Select Fire. And my buddy, who sent me that one to check out in the first place, was kind enough to send me a production version of the Microtech Select Fire so that we could actually do a little compare and contrast. I don't think I've ever seen these on camera together, really. I didn't realize how much bigger the Select Fire was than the MSG or the MSG2. This thing is a beast. Everything about it is just chunkier. Yeah, really, really cool. Interesting that you've got this backspacer construction. Allows you to give it a little pop of color and kind of matching carbon fiber inlays. Looks like the thumb studs are the same. The buttons look similar, but I believe looking, if I can get the light right, probably not. It looks like the actual button section that engages in the bottom of the handle is larger on the Select Fire. And I notice you've got this bump out here on the original MSG, which is where your stud that allows you to lock out the automatic function drops into and allows it to fire. It looks like they moved that up to here and incorporated it with the pivot bump out. Kind of cleaned up the mechanism that way. You don't have that funny little wart on the back of the handle. This is definitely much cleaner. This thing is snappy. They did not skimp out on the springs on these. You definitely want to hang on to these if you get one and go to fire it in the auto function. It retains the same floating lock bar as the MSG. Takes a little more snap to get that big old blade going, which of course is why they put a bigger spring in it. I can really compare the pocket clips. I do kind of prefer the fold over deep carry clip. This one is definitely going to leave it's going to leave a lot of knife hanging out of your pocket. Very aggressive styling on that pommel too. You can almost kind of choke back a little bit. Yeah. Like I said, this is just kind of a neat opportunity to compare and contrast between the two. These MSGs never wound up going into production. There was some sort of drama with the initial release of these at USN. And so there was only a handful of the original prototypes made. And the project basically got put on hiatus or tentatively canceled. A year later, these came out in 2010, I believe. A year later is when Tony would go and use this lockout function on a production knife. And then I want to say it was like 2014, 2015 when the MSG2s came out. Something like that. Oh, the other cool thing that he sent was one of the actual keys to change the lockout function. It's interesting that these aren't marked auto and manual, but I guess having an A and an M does kind of negate the, that one doesn't want to turn. There we go. All right. Yep, locked out. Like I was saying, I guess having an A and an M on it does kind of negate being all sneaky with the lockout function. Of course, now it's not going to want to turn back on camera. I probably should have practiced this a couple of times first. All right, well, I'm going to fiddle with that off camera. But we've seen that it does work. Yeah, I don't really see any other really neat things to point out. It looks like they retain the same dry fire safety mechanism, this extra ridge running around the left side of the blade that engages with that ridge in the button and prevents them from firing once it's open partially in the manual position. Looks to be a little bit thicker overall. Like I said, this thing is a chunker. Definitely feels good in the hand though. All right. So there you go. There's a little compare and contrast between the MSG prototype, which I believe was the first iteration of this button lockout feature. Really slick mechanism. And the first production use of that in the Select Fire. So there you go.